Most likely, every individual will at some point in their life be faced with the loss of a loved one. Such an experience is most likely painful, at the same time highly unique. Some bereaved individuals believe that the spirit or consciousness continues to exist after physical death. These individuals may also feel that it is possible to communicate with a discarnate spirit and decide to attend a reading offered by medium, or in other words, utilize assisted after-death communication. This subject offers such a fascinating realm for research, especially as a gap in scholarly literature continues to exist on topics of ADC in relation to bereavement. ADC is the acronym for after-death communication and will repeatedly be heard throughout this presentation. There seems to be a lack of research in particular regarding client perception or views of ADC, as it is still unclear what meanings individuals attribute to it. There was a need to explore the role of ADC in the context of bereavement and how grief counseling professionals viewed the subject matter. Traditional grief theory focused on the termination of bonds and tends to pathologize the maintaining of a relationship with the deceased. For example, spontaneous forms of ADC have often been diagnosed as hallucinations by mental health professionals. Continuing bonds, a contemporary grief theory, is more accepting of maintaining a relationship with the deceased and of ADC. It was of interest to explore how ADC can be tied into the continuing bonds model. Three constructs have been found to play a predominant role in the research topic: ADC or after-death communication, bereavement and/or grief, and mediumship. A closer look provides definitions for each of these terms. ADC is defined with communication between the living and the deceased. There are four main forms of ADC: spontaneous, facilitated, induced, and assisted. Spontaneous ADC is understood to be the phenomenon where a living person experiences direct and spontaneous communication from a deceased person. Such communication can be visual, auditory, or sensory. It can be in the form of a vivid and real-seeming dream or simply sensing the presence of the deceased loved one. Facilitated ADC is understood as the after-death communication through a psychomanthium, which is a form of mirror gazing developed by Raymond Moody. Induced ADC can be accomplished through EMDR, for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, a technique used by trained mental health professionals in the therapy of, for example, military or combat veterans dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder. Assisted ADC is after-death communication through the assistance of a medium. A medium is someone who claims to have the ability to communicate with deceased individuals. Bereavement can be defined with the loss of a loved one by death. Other terms which are often associated with bereavement are grief and mourning. Mourning can be defined as the display of grief, often through beliefs or practices of a society or religion. Grief is defined as distress caused by bereavement. Today, grief therapy is employed by mental health professionals for a large range of losses, including the loss of a job or loss of social status. At times, these terms have been used interchangeably. The focus of this dissertation is on bereavement and grief, less so mourning or rituals associated with grief. Mediumship can be defined with the ability to communicate with the spirit world. Mediums claim to have the ability to communicate with deceased individuals, or be able to offer mediumship services through what is called a reading. The main purpose of this research study was to describe the lived experience of bereaved adults with assisted after-death communication through a medium, or in more general terms, what it is like to attend a reading by a medium in a bereavement situation. Phenomenological research is concerned with discovering the essence of a phenomenon, where essence is defined as a highly detailed and in-depth description, along with the inherent meanings attributed to such an experience. In simple terms, what makes the experience what it is? The outcome of this research added valuable information to the knowledge of mental health professionals to better understand the role of ADC in bereavement, and it provided a basis for further research while encouraging improvements in grief therapy models and integration of tools to aid in the healing process. Research questions were formulated to address the research topic and to fulfill the purpose of the research. The first question was concerned with finding out what the lived experience of bereaved adults was with assisted ADC through a medium. The essence of the phenomenon was the second main question the research was concerned with. The questions played an important role in the research design and data collection process. Sub-questions which the research intended to address include: what statements describe these experiences? What themes emerge from these experiences? What meanings do bereaved individuals attribute to the experience? What is essential for the experience to be described as healing in the context of bereavement? It is important to remember throughout this presentation that this research at no time attempted to prove the reality of an afterlife or examine survival theory or continued existence of the spirit. It solely made the effort to add to the knowledge surrounding assisted ADC in order to advance understanding of the phenomenon for both bereaved individuals and mental health professionals who offer bereavement care services or grief therapy. The focus was on the lived experience of the phenomenon. Such an experience cannot be tied into a defined theory.